be doing a brush lettering class with us today. She'll be using some Faber Castell brush pens, but you could always use the brush pen of your choosing as well. For your reference, there is a worksheet that has been posted to the chat. So you could use that as reference throughout the course. So from here, I will turn it over to Lhey.
Hello, everyone. How's everybody doing? I see a lot of beautiful faces here this afternoon. It is 3 o'clock my time, and I cannot thank you guys enough for joining this class today. I'm super excited to be here. Again, my name is Lhey Ralston. Some of you probably were having a hard time reading that, and that's okay. I am in Arkansas right now. Before we start, I'd like to share just a little history about me. First of all, I really want to start this class by saying that I am not an artist to begin with. So if you are taking this class, whether this is not your first time doing lettering, or you are an expert, or you really are blessed with some artistic ability, then it's okay. So this is for all levels. I see little girls over there, and this makes me super happy. I am a creative by heart. I am a singer by profession, and I started this lettering journey and doing some doodles and the hand lettering about 6 years ago. So I am here to tell you that I also started without understanding anything, and so hand lettering is for everybody. Okay, so we'll start with that. Hand lettering is for everyone, and there's a lot of things that we're going to talk about today. Brush pens, type of paper, how to hold your brush pens, how to do achieve those strokes that we see on Pinterest, YouTube, Instagram. They're all over social media. But before we start, I really want to share a quote that is very dear to my heart. This has helped me so many times in my personal and also creative life. One step at a time. But when it comes to lettering, I really want to say one stroke at a time. Okay, you might not leave this workshop as an expert, but you will have a lot of information to take with you. And all of these knowledge and the tips and the tricks that I will share with you today, it's going to work only if you put in a lot of work into this as well. You know, so you being here today is the first step. So congratulations, because curiosity is such a blessing. So we're going to do one stroke at a time. We're going to learn with different strokes and the pressure, how we hold our pen and how we apply that pressure to attain those beautiful strokes with brush lettering. And also, again, you're going to hear me say this over and over. So I'm just warning you, you're going to hear me say practice, practice, practice. Okay, so if you are ready, Stacy, if you can help me and flip to this. There we go. Okay, can everyone see all these? So Faber Castell was so kind enough to share with me, some brush pens over here that I want to share with all of you as well. We're going to talk about my favorites and why I love them. And also thank you, Michaels, because them providing classes like this, you know, especially with everything that's happening now around the world, it's just so nice that a lot of fun classes are available for us. And so I have here, like what Stacy said, and Krista actually said it, that I've included a worksheet that you may able to download and then print it out so that you can have access to this, and you can print it over and over, because I did provide some worksheets with our basic strokes. So we'll just go through them, and then also included some drills and warm-ups that you need to practice. And then I did share some sample letters that you may use as well. You can use a tracing paper and put it on top of that, and then you can start practicing with that, you know. So, okay, so first of all, I would like to talk about pens, because pens are not created equal. Just this set alone, we have different 8 pens, And you would think, who needs a lot of pens like that? I do. I can use every pen there is. So in this set, there's actually 8 different pens with 8 different tips. And what I did in the first worksheet that you're going to see is I did the word love to show you the different type of tips and what kind of lettering you can create with all these different nibs or tips. So you might hear me say nibs or tips at times. Okay, and so we have the extra small and then small, we have the fine, the medium, and then what is this called, Krista? The SC, just so I know.
C is a soft chisel.
Okay, the soft chiseled, we have the brush, and then we have the soft brush, and then we have the 1.5 tip as well. And I really love all these because you can create many different types of looks of different letterings using different tips. And then great part about the Faber Castell is that they have many different colors and many different sets as well. So I do love using them when it comes to my lettering in my journal, and you know, if I need to make some crafty cards for my friends, for my kids notes for schools and all that, and you can create so much just with lettering. Okay, so pens and brush pens are not created equal. I do recommend trying 3 different tips first. Because with you trying 3 different tips, that's when you're going to find out what is it that you are most comfortable to use with, or even just the look of the different lettering that you can attain with many different tips. And my favorite one to use personally would be the brush tip. This would be it. And also the soft brush. So I'm gonna set the other side because these are the ones that we're gonna use today because we're going to learn the brush lettering. So it just makes sense that we're going to use the brush and the soft brush. Okay, I called this class Modern Brush Lettering because I want to share with you the old-fashioned, the dipped pen. I'm not sure if you guys remember, but this is the old calligraphy style. And now with the brush pen, we can attain those thin and thick strokes that we see in those beautiful calligraphy letterings, right? Those are super pretty. So now, first and foremost, before we even start talking about the strokes and the lines, I want to talk to you about papers as well. With brush pens, it is very important to try and use the smoothest paper that you can. I mean, regular copy paper is just as good, but, or that's not true. Copy paper are going to be really hard for your brush pens. The reason to that is if your paper is textured, 2 things can happen. You can fray your pen easy, and also the texture of your letters will be a little, I guess, textured because your paper is not smooth, so you'll get those textured in your lettering, but that gives a different look as well. But to me, I love using really smooth paper. Smooth copy paper is my favorite to go, especially if you're just beginning with the lettering. You don't want to spend too much on, you know, great types of journaling, journal books and things like that, but a good smooth copy paper is really important to try and get. There are different brands that you can get from your office supplies, and then also you can get some Rhodia pad, or I love as well, and a Bristol pad is, I love to use this as well because this has a very smooth surface that it's really going to be great to use with your brush pens. Okay, so we've covered the paper. I want to make sure that we cover that because that's really important. Now, with the Faber Castell, the brush tips, I spoke about the fraying of the tips, right? So when your tips are frayed, the good thing about this pen, I love it so much because it's like getting 2 pens in 1 pen. you can get a tweezer like this, and you can just flip it, and you'll get another, there's just a little squeeze over there. So you'll get another brush tip on the other side. That's pretty awesome. So you get kind of like getting two pens in one pen. So this is going to be a little tricky. So you just put it over here. And I also love this because sometimes for me to get my strokes really thick, I like to have an extra space, a wiggle space on the top of my brush pen so that I can bend it even more. Okay, so we're now talking about bending and stuff like that. But before we get to that, we are going to start talking about the different types of strokes. This is really, really important. Okay, when I first started with lettering, I was a little hard-headed and I wanted to jump in right away to doing the letters. And to be completely honest with you, there's no wrong or right. I am not teaching you just this is how you should do it, and this is just the way, or if you don't do this, you're not going to be great at this. But the thing is, if you skip this, it's going to take you much longer. It's going to take you longer before you can really attain your thin and thick strokes the best way. Okay, so these are the most important strokes, and I've included this in the worksheet so you can again print it out and then you can practice it at home. We'll just talk about real quick. So we have upstroke, we have downstroke, we have overturn, we have underturn, we have the compound curve, we have the combination, and the oval. Okay, so you're going to see over here every single time we do the upstroke. And when I talk about the upstroke, it is you going up. So that's the upstroke, right? So every single time you do an upstroke, it has to be very light. Okay, moms, ladies, you know how it is when we do our wing liner. Kids, you're not doing your wing liners yet, but me, us mommies, we do our wing liners and we have to go really light. So think of it as your upstroke. It's like you have to go really light. Think as a feather, you know, so really, really light. For you to get this thin stroke, your hands, you have to tell your hands to go really, really light. Now, the next stroke would be the downstroke. So it's already in the down. So every time you go down with your brush pen, you want to apply some pressure. And if you see my pen, it's bended because this is how we get those thick strokes. See, it's pretty cool, huh? With one pen, you can get these two different looks. You have a thin and then you have a thick. And these strokes are what really matters most because this is what you're going to have to remind yourself, and also you're going to build some muscle memory. In the beginning, you have to tell yourself, okay, I'm going up, I have to go light. I'm going down, I have to go heavy, right? So in the beginning, you will keep repeating this. Light, heavy, light, heavy. And then the other way, heavy, I'm going up now, so I have to go light, right? So heavy, light. All right, so two basic strokes, upstroke, downstroke. Now we just did the overturn. So the overturn is you have to go light to heavy. So we'll try it again. So this is called the overturn. Going up, really light. Going down, apply pressure. There we go. Let's try that again. So overturn is light to heavy pressure. Okay, now the underturn, this is what we did here. This is called the underturn. Now this one is heavy to light. It's a letter U, right? So heavy to light, heavy to light. Now, when I was beginning with my lettering, what I found that was easier for me was the heavy part because I write naturally heavy. So I have heavy hands. So the thicker strokes, the thicker strokes came very natural for me. What I had to really train my hands is to go do the thin strokes. That was the most difficult part. And also when to do the thick. It's like, okay, but that's what we're going to learn later, because all it takes is one stroke at a time. So now this time we have the compound curve. This kind of looks like a wiggly line over here and then goes up. So this one is light to heavy to go light again. All right. Light, heavy, light. So that is called the compound curve. Now, if you are just beginning and you're just starting to practice the compound curve, it is super important to try and connect your lines, because this is where you're going to practice your thin and thick, the variation from the thin and thick. Because if you do thin and then thick and then thin again, that's fine too. But what you want is to build a muscle memory that says, I'm going thin, I'm going thick, I'm going thin, right? Thin, thick, thin. And eventually you're going to do that. Okay, so don't get frustrated in the beginning if you're having a hard time with the thin and thick. The great thing about the Faber Castell is that the brush nib itself, like this, is very soft and flexible. So I don't want you to feel scared to bend them, because in the beginning I was scared as well, you know, to bend my pens like that. I'm like, am I supposed to do that? Yes, you are, because these pens are soft and bendable, and that's how you're going to create all those beautiful thick strokes. Okay, so the next stroke that we're going to learn is called the combination. It's like a letter I, you can see here. So we have this little thing over here that goes up. So again, when you go up, what do? You go light. Light, apply pressure. And then this one gets really tricky because you're going to go really light again. And so it is going to be a challenge, but if you practice a whole lot, you can do this. So go up really light. You can pause in there, and then you can apply your stroke and then do that. So again, if it's your first time trying to do the thin and thick, don't worry about connecting it first. Just build a muscle memory that says thin and thick, thin and thick. Okay, so it's like a letter I. So when you do a letter I like that, think of the combination stroke. That's it. All right, the last stroke is called the oval. Okay, this is like the letter O. And so we're going to start with this and then light, right? So you can see, instead of starting just one line here, I made it where I made a little small curve like that, and then applied my pressure, and then go like that, really thin. Again, let's do that. So apply a little curve, apply your pressure, and then go thin to get your, go really light to get your thin strokes. Please, please, please try and really practice these basic strokes, because what I'm going to show you next, again, you have these basic sheets. So make sure to print it out. And I did these arrows to show you that going up has to go light. Going up has to go light. Going down, you have to apply pressure, right? So think of the arrows, and then you do it yourself over here on the side. So that should really help you out. All right, now the next part. These are the drills and warm-ups. And I'm going to show you here some little tiny strokes. These letters are formed by a combination of two or more of these basic strokes. And here I showed you some example. If we want to create a fancy letter A, we added this stroke. Kind of we did that oval, right? And then we did that compound. Okay, so we did this light stroke, we did the oval, and then we did the combination over here. That stroke plus this stroke plus this stroke, is a letter A. Wow, that's pretty cool. So this one, a combination. So we have an oval, and then we have your thick, and then thin. Okay, so you have to practice all these strokes, and then you're going to find out that all the letters in the alphabet are just composed two or more of these strokes. For example, let's create a letter G. So we're going to create the oval, right? And then we're just going to add down pressure and then up. So that's the letter G. So that's why it's really important to practice those strokes that I've mentioned earlier. So let's start with the letter H. You have to do a thick stroke. And then we have to do the overturn. Light, heavy, right? Okay, so let's try that again. Heavy stroke. We're going to do the overturn. So we have to go light first and then apply pressure. So that's our letter H. Okay. So I have here the samples of the letters, but we're going to go letter per letter. I will show you today how I love to write my alphabet. And I am going to use the brush pen. And then this is a soft brush. I will show you also later how we're going to use that soft brush, and it will create a different look with my letters. And I call this modern brush lettering. My style when it comes to lettering is that I love to use capital letters and small letters together. It just gives a different look to my art. It makes it unique, and I really, really like it. And one thing to remember when you're lettering is that, especially with social media, you know, there's a lot of many talented artists online that are sharing their work. I want you to use them as an inspiration, and do not feel discouraged if your lettering is not, it doesn't look like theirs. It is very important to remember that your level 1, don't compare your level 1 to their probably level 34. So in the beginning, I struggled with that as well. That's why I wanted to share with you that. Okay, so let's start with the letter A. See how I bended my pen? Okay. I'm going to show you the simple ones, but you can add so much to these letters and you can make it your own. C. Apply pressure, go light like the oval, heavy stroke. Letter E. And it's okay to go really slow. Some of the videos online, you see them like, oh, how can they do that so fast? That's not how it's made. I guess they've practiced a whole lot, but even with me, I've been doing this for 6 years now. I still take my time, one stroke at a time, and it's very, very relaxing. Letter I. And one thing I love about the hand lettering is that it keeps you in the moment. It really creates this super wonderful space. It brings me back to my childhood when I am lettering, and I stay in that moment and I'm just enjoying my time. Letter L. Now we're going to do letter M. Heavy pressure, light, heavy, light, heavy, and then light again. I love practicing the letter M because this is when you can really practice those thin and thick with a smooth connecting, you know, with that smooth connection from that heavy pressure. Letter N as well, so you have that. But you go light and then thick and then light again. Okay, and then we have letter O, just have that oval. We just add this little small curve like that. With the letter P, the mono P, letter Q. Again, that oval. We go light, heavy, heavier. And once you keep practicing, eventually you're going to build the muscle memory where your hands will just automatically know when to apply pressure and when to go really light. And that's what you want to achieve, is to build that muscle memory. But the muscle memory will not come if you do not practice. All right, so letter U, and then you just apply this. Letter V, light. W. W is kind of like the letter M. It's nice to practice that. X. You go Y. And then letter Z. So those are our letters. Now we're going to do our capital. So again, I'm just going to do the basics so you guys don't get too overwhelmed with many different strokes and all that. We're going to start with the basics first. So letter A, B, C, heavy stroke, light, heavy, light. Okay, all right, sorry if I'm going too fast. Okay, let's try that again. So A, B, C, D. Now we're going to do E. Here we go. Now F. Apply pressure. Go light. This one, just go light. That way. Okay, with the letter G. It's like creating an oval. We stop in the middle. And you create that pretty tail. Letter H. I'm just adding 2 thick strokes. And then like what we did with the letter G. Just like that. You can create your eye this way. So that's just 1 heavy stroke and 2 light strokes, or you can create it like the fancy letter I. Stop in there, go light, right? I did go light over there, and then now I'm just going to apply pressure, and I have a little stroke over there. Okay, so that's I2, but we're going to do the letter J, but this one we're just going to make the J much bigger. I don't normally write my J's that way. I really love it where it looks like more modern. So it's more like a script, but you're adding fancy loops and strokes to it to make it more like a fancy lettering. But really, it's kind of just like writing your J that way, right? But to make it fancy, you're just basically adding some strokes like that. All right, so now with the letter K, heavy pressure, go down heavy. K. Letter L, light, pressure, light, going up. M, all these strokes that I'm doing, all those little things that I'm doing in there, you can find it in the drills and warm-ups as well, how to add those little tiny strokes there. So letter M, apply your pressure, go up, go down, go up, go down. Did you see why it's nice to practice with the letter M? Because you can really go light and then apply your pressure going down. And it really helps building that muscle memory. So if you can find a word that, you know, mom is a great word to practice. And I'll show you later. Okay, so letter N, apply your pressure, thick stroke. You go thin, and you go. So letter O, create your oval stroke. And then you add your tiny little loop over there. And then we're going to do letter P, thick. From here, it's like halfway of your stroke. You can do it like that. You can do it down. You can go up this way and this other side. And then you can create your letter P. Let's try that again. Downstroke, thick stroke, and then downstroke again. You can just leave it like that, or add your tiny little loop to make it look fancy. And then Q is almost the same way, but the opposite. You start with your oval first, and then you apply your thick stroke, and then you go up with a thin, and then you add your little loop. That's the small one. So with the big one, you apply a bigger oval, and you go from here, and you bring it down, and you go up. And with the letter R, you can make it like the letter P while you're practicing, so you don't confuse yourself. You go up the same way like the letter P. You go down, meet it in the middle part, and you go do this like with your letter K. So as the more you practice, the more you're going to learn and understand that they're very similar. The way the letters are composed by many different strokes, or two or more of those strokes. And by doing, really putting a lot of practice into it, you're going to learn that, oh, this is just a letter Q, or this is just a letter C, you know? So just keep practicing and you'll get it. Don't get frustrated, because I do understand that when you're beginning and it's really difficult. And I want to share with you, when I was first starting, the most difficult part for me was if I'm going up with my thin stroke, it's super wiggly, right? And so when you're going up like that, super duper wiggly, and that's okay. It's okay. It's okay to be wiggly at first, or to not have a big difference from your thin and thick. Just keep practicing. Okay, so R, now we're going to do with the letter S. S is a little fancy. So you're going to go really thin, right? Thin. You can stop in there if you'd like. And then you're going to apply your pressure. And then you go loop. See, that's why it's a little tricky. And I write my S in many different ways. Sometimes I would just write it just how I would write my letter S. But with using a brush pen, with thin and thick strokes, it makes it super pretty, even though it's just a simple letter S. And you can go as fancy as you'd like, adding those flourishes. And those are when you're, if you've been practicing a whole lot, then you can start adding your flourishes with your letters. And that's what you should attain for, is when to start adding all those little fancy things. But I don't want to overwhelm you, so that's why we're trying to show you a much simpler way how you can still enjoy lettering with even just a simple strokes and lines first. So with your letter T, it's kind of like what we did with the letter F. So we did that small stroke, did this thin, we're going to do this loop. So you can stop in there, or you can just keep going. And that's your letter T. Or you can just a simple letter T. And what makes it going to look fancy is the way you would curve your lines that way. See that? So you can practice like this so that you can get, oh, when do I bend it? When do I get my thick and thin? Because when you go up, you go thin. When you go down, you go thick. You go up, you go thin. You go down, you go thick. That's why, see how important it is? Because that's how you're going to get those thin and thick. So letter U, just like that, just like your underturn. And then you can add this. So it's like having a big U and then a small I, you know, you can look at it that way. Now with your letter V, you can apply pressure in there. And you can go thin going up. And then you can just create this pretty stroke like that. So that's your letter V with a W, thick stroke, thin stroke, thick stroke. Then you extend this line over here on top and create that loop again, kind of like what we did with the letter V. With the letter X, and you go thin this time. So you apply the pressure. That was heavy pressure. And then now we're going to apply a thin stroke, and we're going to extend it over there. So that's our letter X. Now Y is like creating a small U. But we're going to add this hanging tail, and then we're going to add that loop on that side. And with that letter Z, I like to create a small stroke like this to kind of like find where I want to start with my thin and thick. Okay, and then apply the same pressure, extend it downwards, and now we're going up. Bring your line up. So that's your letter Z. Let's try that again. I want to add a little bit of line first, and from this end where I stopped, this is where I'm going to continue, and then create this stroke like this. Apply my pressure. I know it gets really frustrating at times, but I've seen someone who were asking for some small letters again. I'm going to do it again for you. So let's try with the letter A, and this time I will try to add a little bit of flourishes. How about I try with the soft brush so that we can talk about the soft brush as well. Now with a soft brush, I will not recommend the soft brush if you are a beginner, because this one would take a little bit of practice to get used to, because even I myself am having a hard time gaining control. When I say gain control of my strokes, of my thin and thick, because this one is really soft. You can just see, you don't have to apply so much pressure just to get the thick stroke. This one you have to really hold your pen really, really light. And I find it harder to create my thin strokes with a soft brush, but I love the different look it gives me. See, it just gives that natural bristle and just, I think I saw that question. Hold on one second. So it just gives me this natural brush look, like a sumi brush, like a Japanese, you know how they used to do their calligraphy. Okay, I think I read that one question. This is also very important. I forgot to share this in the beginning. I can't believe I did that. So you know how when we write, we hold our pen this way, right? I'm gonna write just regular writing here. Now, you cannot do that when you're doing a brush lettering. The most important thing is to be at least 45 degrees relative to the surface of this one. What you want to do is you want your brush slanted, because when you write this way, I will try and show you an example. I'll try and move my camera a little bit so you guys can really, oops, that's what happened. Okay, so we're going to do this again so you can really see how the pen is writing. So if you write this way, see how the position of the pen, this is going to be really important. Your pen has to be this way. Now this, the way I'm holding it, this finger's over here controls the pen. So this is what's going to glide. You're not moving your whole hand when you're lettering. This over here is where you have to have control. You go thin, you go up. You go down, you go heavy, right? So pen position, at least 45 degrees. You go thin, and you bend the pen. See how that bended? Again, bend it. Okay, so depending on how thick you want your strokes to look, that's how much you're going to bend your pen. But if you want just a real, just enough to really see the difference from the thin and thick, then that's just how much pressure you want to apply. But if you want to create a much thicker, you can always bend it even more, like that. So again, the way you hold your pen, 45 degree, please write that. Super duper important. Also, what helps me a lot is the way I would have my paper or my notebook or my journal, whatever it is that I'm using when I'm lettering. You want to also tilt it this way if you're, of course, right-handed. Of course, if you're left-handed, you want to tilt it onto the other side. But with me, okay, with me being right-handed, I would tilt it to the left a little bit, slightly. So this way, I can create a much better gliding movement of my strokes. So see that? So this is why I love the letter M, because you can really apply your thin, thick, right? So what is that, chat? You needed the letter P, or I can't remember, I think it was the letter P. So I'm gonna show you a quick way to do the letter P. You go thick stroke, right? Now you go thin. From where you stopped is where you want to start. Okay, so go thin, thick, and then apply your tail. So that's letter P. And that's how you would do your letter R as well. One thick stroke. From where you stopped, you go that way. Meet in the middle. See how they were very similar? Okay, so letter P, if it's in a smaller case, would be the same way. Just that. Letter Q is creating your oval stroke. Add your little tail for some fancy extra things. Now letter R, you go thin. From where you stopped, you want to bring it down, slightly slanted like that, and then apply pressure. R. S. Thin, thick, then loop. Let's do the letter S again. You can do it this way. See how those lines? You're going to do this line a whole lot, so make sure you practice that, because this is the thin, see, thin. Okay, so when you do your letter S, you're going up. So you're going up, and then that means upstroke means light pressure. You're going to apply heavy pressure and then create your loop. It's kind of like adding a letter small j, right? So you do your thin stroke. Think of it as like you're adding your letter J, but that's letter S. And again, the more you practice, the more you're going to learn different techniques that works best for you, because you always have to remember that no matter how many workshops you take if you don't put in enough time and effort and really dedicate a little bit of your time every day. It's a great way to relax, and you'll find that some techniques would just be best for you. Some will work best for the others, might not, but you know, the more you practice, the more you develop this own styles and techniques your way. So that's letter S. Okay, so now we're gonna do T. Okay, hold on. So R, L, M, P, Q, R, S, T. So let's do the S, the T again. So heavy stroke, you go really light going up. All right. You add that one. You can do this way. You go up. You can bring it down again. That way too. So the letter U. Same way. Same as a small V, like the capital V. Extend it up a little bit and you go round. That stroke again on the letter W. Right.
Hi, Lhey. It's Krista. We've had a couple of folks chat in about hint lefties. Do you have any advice if you happen to be a left-handed letterer?
You know what? I have some someone in my class. Actually, I do have a group on Facebook, and I have some lefties over there. What they said that worked the best for them is really apply the same techniques that we were talking about. For example, the pen. And it starts with the paper first, the way you would position your paper. So instead of us, the righties, would tilt it to the left, they would tilt their papers to the right. And of course, the way they would hold their pen as well, this works very well because when you're angled this way, 45-degree angle, it's still going to be the same way, the way you would attain all those thick strokes. And the good thing about the Faber Castell is because it dries really fast. So you guys don't have to worry about smearing or anything, because that's one thing that they're struggling with is the smearing of their pens, of course, because the way they would write, their hands would go over where they wrote the first letters, So, and I think really practiced by the position of the way you hold your pen, start with that. And then again, the same techniques would be applied. Thin going up and then thick going down. So let's just finish with the letter Z this way. It's like writing a letter one. That one. So that's it. But again, those are the most important things when it comes to brush lettering, really the thin and thick. It's like bend and snap. It's kind of like that. But really, this one is you bend it and you go really light. You bend, go really light going up. And the more you practice, the more that muscle memory and it will come just naturally to you. And if there's any other questions, I'm open for that. But really, we've covered most of it. Now it's all going to depend on you of how much practice you want to put in with your brush lettering. It's going to be fun, and then after that you can do so much things. You can add watercolors in your lettering, you can use other different mediums and apply the same thing that you've learned using a brush pen. So for example, we're going to use a watercolor, and this is a brush pen as well, but consider this one as like the soft brush, because this is a softer brush. So if you have heavy hands like me, then you have to really control the stroke going down. So you go, this is your oval. Same things has to be applied. Thin going up, and then thick going down. Thick, same thing. Thin and thick. And it's super fun. Once you get used to that thin and thick, you can try many different types of mediums as well. And then you can start playing with your flourishes. You can start adding many different loops. And and things like that. But if you don't practice enough with your strokes, then you're going to have a hard time really creating the best art that you can. Don't skip on the lines. I know it's really, I keep repeating myself, but I can't stress it enough how you have to start with the basics first. Try and do one stroke at a time. Don't get overwhelmed with all the swish and the swash and the flourishes and all that. Just practice with the basics first, because later on you can start adding, you know, the different techniques and the different looks that other people are creating online. Again, use it as your inspiration and don't get discouraged with you know, if yours doesn't look like theirs, because again, maybe your level 1 is being compared to someone's level 42. But if there's any other questions, papers, yes, I spoke about the papers in the beginning. I really do recommend using soft paper. There are some brands that I love that you can get from, you know, the office supplies. It is called Hammer Mill, and this is a bright white, and it really has a soft surface, and it's really good to practice your brush letterings. These are just copy papers, but these are great quality copy papers. And the one thing I love to use as well is this HP paper. This is a premium 32 pound, and it's 100% in brightness, and it also has a very smooth surface, so it will not hurt your brush nails. And another great one to use that I've shared is a Bristol paper. Bristol paper is great to use as well because it has a smooth surface. So anything that has a smooth surface, you know, Rhodia pads are great. Another one that you can use are vellum papers, the tracing papers, because those have a smooth surface. So any other question? Carissa, do you want to add some more?
We just had a few questions regarding adding some color to your lettering designs afterwards, either using the watercolor pans or watercolor pencils. Do you have any recommendations for that?
Yes, absolutely. I've actually set out a watercolor paper in here. I think this would be the best to create if you have a watercoloring pad, you know. So the thing that I found most helpful to me is I use a very light brush pen. Okay, so if I have a very light, you can try the gray ones. There are grays, so very light gray. We can start with that. I want to get the lightest, and this is how I'm going to create some ombre or some gradient look. Let's start with the word love so it's easy. I will just letter it. Okay. And the PITT Artist pen is waterproof. So whatever it is that you laid down your first colors, those are not going to move if you want to start adding your watercolor. So we're going to create a green and yellow, right? So you've seen me applied a light gray color. And what I want is I'm going to create a yellow and green. So what you want to do is you want to start adding your dark color in first at the bottom, if that's what you want. If you want the dark in the bottom, and I want to start with that. And I am using a Faber Castell water brush as well, and this is included in this set. I love carrying this with me if I travel, if I'm out teaching some workshops. This is a really great set to carry with you. And it does include this water brush pen. Okay, so I have my green. Now I'm just going to clean this up. You know. And I have a little bit of water left, I think, inside. You just have to fill it in with water and the water would flow naturally. So this time I'm going to get a light orange to add to this. I don't think I have enough water. Okay. And doing it this way, by using the brush pen, it gave me a much better control of my letters, how I want my letters to look like, because sometimes even with me personally, I find the water brush pen to be, a little bit challenging to use in the beginning, and I still practice. Again, even if I've been doing this for quite some time now, I still allot some time during my day to really practice so that I won't lose that control that I have with my my strokes with the thin and the thick. So I'm just adding here the orange on top. See, having that gray lettering in the beginning is just so much better because my lines are much cleaner. But it doesn't mean that you can't just go right ahead and then just use your water brush and your letters, and that's fine too. But this is just one technique that I find out super duper helpful, personally helpful. And you can just keep adding your colors. And again, that gray color will not move because this is waterproof. So whatever color you lay down first, make sure it is the lightest if you don't want the color to really pop up. And so that's the love. And also, there's another great product that Faber Castell have, and these are the aqua, and they look like colored pencils, but they are watercolor pencils. Yeah, super fun. So you can do the same thing. I can letter here. Let's say mom, because I told you I love the letter M. Look at the position of my pen and how I'm writing it. Thin, thick, thin, thick, thick, and thick.
Lhey, can you tell us what color of the PITT Artist pen that you're using to layer over?
Okay, so this one is the light indigo, or the 220. This is my favorite one to use when I'm doing watercoloring because it's really, really light. So that's one that I love to use. And also the warm gray 272. Is that warm gray the third? Okay, so we added the word mom. Now I'm going to let's try some cool tones. So again, this is the Faber Castell, the watercolored pencils. I love using this. So we're going to get a light pink and a blue. So we're going to create this way. All right, this time I'm going to start adding my light color first. And you're basically just coloring in the base lettering that you created. So I'm just going over the strokes that way. I think using the color pencils is much better with your strokes because it is really easier to handle. You have much more control over it. So if you find the water brush pen a little tricky, this is another way that you can start adding colors in to your art pieces. So we're going to start with the letter M, so I don't want to take too much of your time. Let's do the letter M first. So you can see we added our pink, and then I'm going to go over and then add the letter blue. See, Again, you don't have to be too careful because we're going to go over this and use the water brush again to blend these colors, and you're going to see it's super duper pretty. All right, I'm going to use a water brush. Look at how going over that color. Go over that first, the light one. Always have a paper towel beside you when you're playing with watercolors, anything that has to do with water in your medium, because, or any scratch paper as well, because you want to clean out your brush afterwards. So you want to go over your blue this time. Here you go. And then I'm just going to clean it up with paper towel so that, and then now I'm going to go over the blue. So this time you want to start with the bottom first, okay? And you want to pull in those colors together so that they can blend seamlessly. That way. I have too much. I squeezed it too much, so be careful with squeezing your brush pens as well. So you'll have just enough water that you need, but that's why having a paper towel beside you is very helpful, because when you know you have too much water on your brush pen, then you can just always use your paper towel. There we go. And then you want to pull in the pink now so you can blend those two colors together so you have seamless blending. And then clean out on the sides.
Lhey, can you remind us the two papers that you used, please?
Yes, the two copy papers that I love to use are the Hammer Mill. It is a 28-pound paper and it's very smooth. And the next one is called the HP Premium and it has a 32-pound. So, and that's what you're going to attain with your watercolors. And then remember we talked about, you know, the different type of tips with the PITT artists. You can create so much with this one. You can go over your lettering so you can create those strokes like that. So you have a much cleaner look. And so having different type of tips was really helpful because you can create so much different looks with, you know, using different tips and even in one art that you're creating. You can start adding metallics in here. So, any other questions? So again, guys, I am really super duper excited that you wanted to learn lettering. It is such a fun hobby that eventually turned into a business for myself, and it might, you know, work out the same way for you. But if you just want something to do, you want to start a new hobby, hand lettering, brush lettering is so fun. And I do hope that you'll find this journey, you know, help you with everything in life. With me, it really does help me mentally because it helps me to pause and be in the moment. And so I really do super duper love doing hand lettering. Again, please don't forget to download your worksheets that we provided for you, because the sample letters are there. If you missed the letters that I did earlier, the letters are in the worksheets, so you can just download and print it at home so you can have a reference that you can look look into, and then you have your practice sheets as well that you can print over and over, and you can practice your strokes from there. And if you have any other questions for me, I'll answer some of your questions before we say goodbye. But before we say goodbye, I'd like to say thank you, of course, Faber Castell and Michaels for inviting me today to do this workshop. And it's so super duper fun. I hope that you learned something today. I hope that you'll carry it with you. There you go. So it's been so much fun. If you have any other questions before I say goodbye, I do hope that you stay connected. Please follow me on Instagram. It's Mommy Lhey on Instagram. If you have any other questions, you can always reach out to me through my social media accounts as well. I'm always there for you. So,
And just from Faber Castell, I wanted to thank you. You did a great job today. And then just a reminder for everyone that is on this call. So if you didn't get the sheets, they will be emailed out to all of the attendees afterwards. And then this class was recorded, and Michaels will post this to the michaels.com/classes afterwards. So if there's anything that you wanted to spend some additional time on, you can always revisit afterwards. So
that's wonderful.
Being here with us today. Thank you, Lhey. You did an amazing job.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for hanging out with me today. Again, thank you for having me as well. And good luck. Good luck with your hand lettering. So,
thank you.